Ever feel like you're playing checkers while everyone else is playing chess?
Yeah,
Just a move or two behind.
I know that feeling.
Today, we're diving into one of those power moves that can completely change the game. It's from Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, Law 14. Pose as a friend, work as a spy.
Ah, Law 14. Sounds a little bit intimidating, doesn't it? A little bit cloak and dagger?
It does have a certain intrigue to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But like all of Greene's laws, it's not about something literal like, becoming a secret agent. It's really about understanding the subtle dynamics of power and how information plays a key role.
Exactly. It's about, like you said, not literal espionage, but strategic information gathering.
And it really emphasizes this idea that knowledge is power, but not just any knowledge.
Right, not just, facts and figures you can just Google.
Exactly. It's about understanding the motivations, the intentions, maybe even the weaknesses of the people around you.
Because when you have that deeper understanding, that's when you can really anticipate their moves and make the best decisions for yourself. Greene uses some fascinating historical examples, to illustrate this.
But Catherine the Great.
Oh, Catherine the Great. Now, there's a ruler who knew a thing or two about power.
Right, and she had a vast network of informants. But it's interesting, it wasn't just about, spying on people in the shadows.
Yeah, she wasn't exactly hiding in the corner taking notes. No, not at all. She cultivated this image of being a friend, a confidant. So people felt comfortable letting their guard down around her, revealing things that they wouldn't dream of saying publicly, secrets, opinions, vulnerabilities. And that's how she gained this incredibly valuable insight into the inner workings of her court.
So it's almost like she used this idea of posing as a friend to create this space of trust.
Yeah.
Where people would unknowingly reveal more than they intended to.
Exactly. It's almost like a form of passive information gathering, and it allowed her to make really strategic decisions, anticipate threats, really consolidate her power.
So we bring this back to our own lives.
Yeah.
Obviously, most of us aren't trying to rule a country or anything.
Hopefully not.
But this law does raise an interesting question. How often are we actually really listening in our conversations? Or are we, like you were saying earlier, just kind of gathering information on the surface level?
Right. It's so easy to get caught up in our own heads, thinking about what we want to say next or how we're being perceived. And we miss out on those crucial details, those subtle cues that can really give us an edge.
It's like we're so busy talking or thinking about talking that we forget to actually listen. And I'll admit, I've been guilty of this myself countless times probably, especially when I'm like nervous or trying to make a good impression. I'm not really present in the conversation. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think we've all been there. But that's why I think this idea of posing as a friend is so powerful, because it forces us to shift our focus outward, to be genuinely interested in what the other person has to say. And Greene actually gives some tactical advice on how to do this. He talks about the importance of offering subtle flattery.
Oh, flattery. Now, that's an interesting one.
Yeah. But he doesn't mean, being insincere or showering someone with compliments. It's about finding those genuine things that you admire about them and reflecting that back to them. And when people feel seen and appreciated, they naturally let their guard down.
It's like you're creating a safe space for them to open up.
Exactly. And when you combine that with truly listening, asking thoughtful questions, letting them do the talking, that's when you can really unlock some valuable insights.
It's like you're almost like unlocking a secret door in their mind, right? Where they reveal things that they wouldn't even tell their closest friends.
It's true. Greene even uses a really compelling example from the world of business.
Ooh, I love a good business story.
So picture this. You've got this high-stakes, very competitive industry, and there's a company that's on the verge of this, major breakthrough.
Okay, the stakes are high.
Very high. And one of the executives, let's call him David, he starts hearing these whispers, rumors that a rival firm is trying to poach his top talent.
Oh, no, to steal their secrets.
Exactly. But here's the thing. David doesn't go in, guns blazing, accusing everyone of being a traitor.
He doesn't call a big meeting, start pointing fingers.
No. Instead, he decides to use this Law 14 mindset. He starts paying closer attention. He has these casual lunches with his team members, asks about their families, their aspirations, really listens. He's seen as supportive, not suspicious.
So he's playing the long game here.
Right. And sure enough, within a few weeks, he starts to notice these subtle things. He overhears a phone call, sees a suspicious email, and he puts two and two together, realizes that one of his most trusted colleagues is actually in talks with the competition.
Wow. So he was able to uncover this plot just by listening and observing.
Exactly. And what I think is so brilliant about this example is that it doesn't turn into this big, dramatic showdown. David doesn't confront the employee, doesn't make a big deal out of it. He uses his knowledge strategically, takes steps to protect the company's interests, discreetly lets the employee go, and the whole situation is handled smoothly without any major fallout.
That's amazing. It's like he neutralized the threat before even had a chance to blow up.
Yeah.
And all because he chose to listen first, act later.
Exactly. And I think it goes back to something we were discussing earlier about intention. David wasn't using this information to manipulate or control anyone. He was using it to protect his company, to make informed decisions. And I think that's a really important distinction to make. There's a very fine line, obviously, between strategic information gathering and straight-up manipulation.
Yes. And we have to be careful not to cross that line.
Mm.
I think that's where the ethical aspect comes in, right? It's about being discerning, not devious.
I love that. Discerning, not devious. That should be the motto for Law 14. It's about trying to understand the motivations and intentions of others, but not to control them, just to navigate those complex situations with open eyes.
It's about being savvy, not sneaky.
Right.
And you know what I find really interesting about this whole law? It really highlights the power of observation and how much we can learn about people just by paying attention.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that's often overlooked, especially in our fast-paced world. We're so bombarded with information, it's easy to just skim the surface.
So I guess the challenge then becomes, how do we cultivate that deeper level of awareness? How do we go beyond just hearing to truly listening? It's almost like we have to train ourselves to become more observant, more attuned to those subtle cues that people give off.
It's true. It's like a muscle that we have to exercise. And I think it starts with self-awareness.
Yeah.
Being aware of our own biases, our own tendencies to interrupt or to jump to conclusions.
Yeah, catching ourselves when we're not really present in the moment.
Right. And I think it also involves being more intentional about the questions we ask. Asking open-ended questions, the kind that invite people to share more than just a yes or no answer.
Asking those questions that make people stop and think.
Exactly. And just being genuinely curious about their perspective.
So much of this boils down to self-awareness, doesn't it? Being aware of our own biases and understanding that the way we listen, truly listen, can be just as powerful as anything we say.
I completely agree. And I think that's what makes this such a powerful law. It reminds us that knowledge isn't just something we acquire, it's something we cultivate. And sometimes the most valuable information comes from simply listening with intention.
So for our listeners out there, here's something to think about. Think about a situation you're facing right now. It could be anything. A work negotiation, a family conflict, or even just trying to understand a friend better. And ask yourself, how could becoming a more observant, more attentive listener give you that strategic edge? It might not be as glamorous as, international espionage.
Although you never know.
But mastering the art of listening, truly listening, can be just as powerful. In fact, it might be the key to unlocking possibilities you never even knew existed. So, as always, the power is in your hands.
Wise words.
Use it wisely.